Your favorite fat boys.
What's up, everybody? It's your favorite fat boy, Jerron.
Stefan, a.k.a. Mayhem, a.k.a. Stephen L. Miles, a.k.a. The Glove Doesn't Fit.
Ho ho! Glove don't fit. So what we talking about today?
So today we're going to be talking about the cost of freedom in the United States of America's justice system and how people with more money tend to get off on various crimes and how celebrities get less time. And we're going to talk a little bit about When They See Us, the Central Park 5, that series and the accompanying documentary that came out prior to the series coming out.
Yep. So I guess we'll start with, the cost of freedom and the lawyers and justice system. So how about you go and kick us off with that?
So as we are well aware that lawyers are very much important to a fair and balanced judicial system. Somebody who knows the law and somebody who is able to fight for you when you need to go to court. But there is an astronomical cost involved.
Yeah.
Especially not even with just lawyers, but the entire justice system in America as we know it.
Yeah, it gets real expensive. Like, I had a lawyer one time, and for him to go in front of a judge for like less than 10 minutes is like $600.
Right.
And you were telling me that we were talking about somebody, and it like, how much would that cost for a lawyer?
Had a cousin going through some things, and she, spent tons of money. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars to cover the cost of the courts and the lawyers to fight a case. It's utterly ridiculous. You will lose house and home.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Because like with the bond system, do you put up your home sometimes? I guess depending on how much it is.
Yeah, it depends. It depends on what it is and what you have for collateral. Because again, sometimes bonds are extremely high to get out of jail.
Yeah, they are. They're very high. Because we was like talking about like celebrities and how they don't necessarily that what they do. They get off. They serve less time. Like we were talking about like T.I. He had his case like almost 10 years ago, and what he had assault rifles.
Yeah, several assault rifles.
And that's like for I think in a silencer, I think the silencer is like 5 years automatically fed time. AK-47, that's 15 years automatically fed time. I don't know if he had an AK-47, but he had some big boy shit.
Yeah,
and he got a year.
Yeah,
and he said he spent maybe $8 million on lawyers and probably in court fees and things like that. It was all said and done.
That's it. And when you think about that price, you kind of have to realize that the average Joe who is trying to beat a case ain't got that kind of money, so your ass is going to jail.
And for him to get a year for what he had, very very lucky, and that's pretty much what money brought him was a year.
Yeah. What was the reason that he had all those guns?
Well, so he had a close friend of his was killed. And I would say, I guess, in some kind of a exchange of shooting. Well, they ran up on, and they fired shots and hit in the van he was in and killed his best friend. So then he became paranoid and decided to load up on these assault rifles and weapons and stuff like that. He had them all in his home. They raided his home and everything. He had all the stuff in his home, and I think when he got caught, he was making a deal to buy these weapons, and of course, he got caught, it went south. So, and it's actually a skit he has on one of his albums where they play this out. And he meets the guy that's going to sell these weapons. And the guy's fidgety, he's real nervous, he's sweaty. And they're like, why you sweating? It's like the middle of October, you shouldn't be sweating. And he's like, nah, man, I'm good, I'm good. Then next thing you know, the feds roll up in and get him. So he said, though, he justifies it by, he comes from an environment where, you get shot at, you shoot back. So a paranoia had developed, and he wanted to protect himself and his family.
Meanwhile, at the little flip compound, my plan went into inaction.
Oh, not Lil Flip. Lil Flip had to be happy that he got a year. He probably like, I can come back out with my mixtape. Because you didn't hear anything from Lil Flip after Game Over.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have the rights to that. What song was that?
It was the music from Pac-Man.
Yeah, he didn't have the rights for that, I think. And they sued that ass.
So, yeah, I mean, and he's not the only celebrity who tends to get less time.
Shit, look at Martha Stewart.
Yeah. I mean, well, then Martha Stewart was doing, white collar crime.
Yeah, but she was a year? Maybe if that?
Yeah, a year. And I think there was this famous case maybe a couple years ago with a rich white kid who got drunk and killed 4 people, and his lawyer said he had a case of affluenza where he was so rich and he was always given everything that he didn't know what he was doing was wrong.
What's affluenza?
That's the name that they gave to his condition, where he had never been told no, so he didn't realize that the things he was doing was wrong. Getting stupid drunk and then driving your car through, into traffic.
Well, that's kind of like, I guess paying for a lawyer, having money getting off versus white privilege. Because that reminds me of the case where what's the guy's name? Brock something. He raped a woman, and he was on the swim team. Apparently, he was a really good swimmer, and the judge was like, I'm not going to give him a harsh sentence because it would ruin his life.
Yeah, don't want to ruin his life.
Versus the woman's life he's already ruined. You don't want to give him a punishment.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of times when it comes to, that wealth disparity, white privilege is an underlying factor, because there's a huge disparity between whites and minorities when it comes to wealth. But if you have the money, I mean, T.I. is a perfect example of that. You can afford the privilege.
Right. And plenty of rappers that have, I think they get in trouble all the time. And not to say they bring it apart themselves. Well, they probably do to a certain extent. But it's like, to anybody else, you'll be getting the maximum sentence or serving some portion of time. And they get a slap on the wrist. But the average person, they commit a crime. They definitely should be penalized for it. But you're getting off.
The number of celebrities who have drunken, drug-fueled benders and get sent to rehab, whereas some random ass Joe will be going to prison for a few years.
That happened to I think it was Paris Hilton. She was sentenced to rehab. No, she was sentenced to jail, and she was she was there for maybe 30 minutes. Was out.
Right. Yeah.
She was supposed to do maybe 30 days and did 30 minutes, and it was out.
Yeah, which is a thing that happens a lot with celebrities. Because again, if you can afford it, it's not a guarantee that you're going to get off, but it raises the scales to some degree of certainty that you're going to get off.
Right. So why is it set up then that the lawyer is set up to help me to defend myself, but I had to show so much money for the services.
Well, for one thing, when it comes to lawyers and the law, what you're paying for is you're paying for the lawyer's expertise and his time. Mm-hmm. If the more money you give a lawyer, the more he has the ability to take off and focus on your case. And and also when you paying a shit ton of money for when you're one of those big name lawyers like a Johnny Cochran, you see, you're paying for his connections. You're paying for the people that he knows. He probably knows a few judges. He probably knows the district attorney and knows some people that'll help get you off.
But is that fair?
No, it's not fair. But that's the system.
That's the system in this place. It is not fair.
Yeah, it's definitely not fair. It's not fair for poor people. Being poor in America is more of a crime than you could ever realize. And it costs a shit ton of money to be poor in America.
That's true. Because recently, this Baltimore lawyer, I can't remember his name now, but last year, these 4 teenagers, they ran over a police cop in the county. And there's a lawyer, he's black, he took the case, and his pitch was that, they were underprivileged, so they had no choice. Right. It was something real sideways. Like, so justifying him breaking into houses, stealing from these houses, stealing the car, running over a cop. You saying that he was underprivileged, that's why he did it. And like his mother, one of the kids, the mother like he should have been locked up. Like he should have been like gone. He should have been in the system, like locked up somewhere. But they kept releasing him on some kind of technicality. But for you to kind of, as a lawyer, say, "Oh no, it's justifiable." Like, how can you even take the case? Like, how can you? Like, I understand it's money, but still, like, how do you morally?
And not even that it's money, but again, the justice system says that you should be able to find somebody to defend you, regardless of how guilty you are.
But you guilty though. You did like OJ got off. OJ had a lot of money. And had the best legal team of all time.
Yeah.
And he got off. And I saw something the other day where they said that with the whole glove thing, that somebody told him, don't take your arthritis medicine so your hand can swell up.
Probably.
I believe it.
Yeah, I mean, again, probably there's a lot of tricks of the trade, and when you got the kind of money to pay for a crack law team to, be deceptive, there's nothing to say that you shouldn't do it.
I don't know. I don't like jury duty at all. I think it's a waste of time.
I mean, I'm not going to say it's a waste of time because you're supposed to have, the law says that jury of your peers. Well, as opposed to somebody on high passing judgment who can't relate to you.
Well, one time when the jury duty, the last time I should say, it was a trial for, I think, there were two plaintiffs and they were going at each other. So it wasn't a defendant and a plaintiff, but it was two plaintiffs, and their case was he did it. Like they were like talking about, well, it wasn't me, it was him, and then vice versa. Right. And I'm like, what kind of fuckery is this?
I mean, that was two people's lawyers telling them to say the other person did it.
Right, and they wanted juries for that. I'm out of here. No, I'm gonna make up some bullshit excuse. I'm not about to be sitting here for this. That would have been a shit show. Ain't no way in the world I'm gonna sit there for that. Talking about, well, he did it. No, I ain't do it. He did it.
I mean, a lot of the justice system, can fall down to he said, she said, and even with that in mind, when you think about our justice system and what is it, the When They See Us, the Central Park Five, how they stacked the odds completely against them so that they can get the convictions to get what they wanted, to get the results they wanted.
Yeah, we watched that not too long ago, and that first episode, it definitely made it turned my stomach because like they just kids, and they had no legal representation.
No,
by the time the parents were involved, it was like, for one, it was like, just do what they say so you can get the hell up out of here. And that was like the worst thing they could, advise. But then he was pinned in the corner because they had some dirt on him.
Right. So
it was like real shady that they wanted to get a conviction. And it's like, if they didn't do it, they didn't do it. You try to find who did.
Again, I mean, if you look at the statistics, there's something along the lines, I think it was upwards of 22 to 25% of people who are wrongfully convicted.
That's a lot.
Extremely. Based off the amount of people that we have in jail, extremely large amount of people who have been falsely convicted.
Oh, yeah. And the jail's a business, so.
And it is. And so you kind of have to expect that if the law enforcement has a narrative that they want to push, that's the narrative they're going to push, and they're going to make it fit. I mean, we've seen that all throughout the history of the United States of America. Yeah,
and too often now there are more and more stories coming to light, which I think are good for the exposure of it. However, it just shows you that the justice system is so ugly that they will take a false confession or a coercive confession to make it stick. And you have so many people that are in jail because you have no DNA evidence, no physical evidence, but they made a confession and it sticks.
Well, I mean, a lot of times with our justice system is so overtaxed, like, with public defenders, not having the time or the experience to really focus in on a case, they'll tell the client, take a plea deal, because that'll be your fastest way to get out of the system, as opposed to trying to spend thousands and thousands upon thousands of dollars that you don't have to defend yourself, even if you're innocent.
That's backwards.
Yeah, so that's part of the reason why celebrities and rich people in general tend to get less time, because one, they have more time and they have more money to afford that legal battle. Whereas the average Joe, I can't do that shit.
Nah, if I get in trouble now, they're gonna just put me in jail. I ain't got no
If
money.
you telling me it's gonna cost me $1 million for me to, get a favorable result, send my ass to jail. Even if I ain't do shit, because I ain't got it.
Right. I can't do it. It's just sickening though, because especially watching When They See Us, and we watched we watched that. It was just like, man, this is fucked up, because the acting was really good.
Oh yeah, very good acting in that show.
And that story is we heard it too often, with wrong place, wrong time. Oh, you did it. You were there. Let's tell us what we want to know, and then you'll go home. But you're not going home.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way that they try to appease you. Like, all you got to do is say you did it, or say he did it, or tell this story so that you can get out of here, because you don't want to be here any longer. Again, it's all a form of torture so that they can get the results that they're looking for.
So why are they trained in that way to get a confession when it's like, hey, did you do it? Okay, well, let's investigate. We don't have evidence. Okay, you're good to go.
It's not so much as training it's bias. You have an idea of a picture in your head that this is the way it is. Again, humans have evolved to see patterns. We're really good at it. It's what's kept us alive throughout the millennia. Mm-hmm. So regardless of whether or not something fits, you'll see a pattern. Okay. So your bias will say, okay, this is what I know. This is the pattern that I see. This is what it has to be. So you will force a round peg into a square hole because it has to fit, because I see the pattern.
I like that one. Say it again.
You will force a round peg into a square hole because it needs to fit the pattern. And our justice system is kind of punitive in its respect. It's not about seeking justice. It's not about proving innocence. It's about punishment. And so then this is what we're big on. I mean, as a first world nation, we have more people incarcerated than any other nation, which is rather telling about our society, right, and what we value. Yeah.
Like I said, jail is a business. Like the amount of money they put into, I guess, to feed the prisoners is ridiculous. And you have investors. Yeah, with the jail, that's crazy to me
there's been a move towards the privatization of prisons, right? Which I always thought was weird, because when you make prison a business is all about margins and bottom lines. There's no way in hell it would be humane.
No. And then, of course, when you are incarcerated, you are technically a slave.
Yeah, I mean, well, not even technically, because as soon as you are incarcerated, you no longer have rights as a citizen.
That's true.
So you are essentially a slave. I mean, if you look at like products that are anything that you buy that says made in America, 9 times out of 10 it was made by a prisoner who was making like pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, I read about that a long time ago, and I was like, that's crazy. Like, I thought of the idea, and I was like, it's probably crazy, but you had them in there, and you're taking them, like the whole train of thought of, taking black men from families and and putting them in prisons and things like that, and minorities. Period. What if you gave them a living wage, and then they made that money? You tax it, of course, because they can be taxed, but they can send that money to their families because they're no longer there to provide physically for them if they were working.
I mean, but then that brings up the entire question of what about the person who's not in jail, who's having, struggling and having an issue finding a job and supporting their family? We just give them a living wage too?
Well, let me think about this. No. If you outside of prison, you should definitely still try to find your own work. However, since you are putting them, you put the prison work for a lesser amount, you take away from their family. Why that money can be sent to the family themselves?
Well, I mean, if it's that simple, then why don't just everybody go to prison?
It's so crowded.
Again, it's a complicated situation, so there's no easy solution.
Yeah, I mean, just like I said, like I didn't think it would stick, but I'm like, why not? But
I mean, because if the only way I can if I'm struggling and the only way that I can get a living wage is by going to prison, I'm committing crime.
But you got people committing crime to sustain it, to help out, to support themselves. Like think about legalization of weed. Now they're trying to, in a lot of these states who have legalized it, they're trying to overturn the convictions for people who are incarcerated for weed possession. Yeah,
well, non-violent drug offenders, because honestly, they should have never been in there in the first place. You're putting non-violent offenders into a criminal system with career criminals who are, dangerous career criminals, and all they doing is just teaching them how to be better criminals.
Yeah, because then if you go in there for weed, and you might come out, you might be a murderer. That's a bit of a stream, but if you ran some dangerous people, what you gonna pick up? Or you go to weed, you might sell crack.
Or you just have enough money so that even if you do go to jail, you can be segregated from the rest of the population, and you won't be there very long.
I don't know. I'm glad they are overturning the convictions, but they're also making it harder for, I think, us as minorities to get into the weed selling business as well, because it's very strict. If you have anybody close to you that's been convicted of weed, you can't be a distributor.
I mean, of course, they want to make the cost of entry as high as possible.
Right.
I mean, that's just the way America works, because minorities have been really good at distributing weed for quite some time,
right?
Illegally. So if you make it legal, you want to make the cost of entry extremely high.
Of course, because now there's a push to kind of get on this wave of owners distribute shops. What do they call it? What's the word? I can't think of it, but it's a bit pushed like, hey, get into this business, get into this field, because we're gonna be the last ones left to not kind of jump away, kind of like the big old tech wave, the apps and all that. And now here's marijuana getting all legalized.
Yeah, I mean, it's big business. I mean, it should have done it so many years ago. I mean, granted, the only reason that they made marijuana illegal was racism, which is how a lot of drugs got criminalized in the first place. So,
right.
But that's a topic for a different day.
I just want to be Pablo Escobar. I like Narcos. I just want to run the cartel.
As long as you know how that ended.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would do it differently. Like I don't want to hurt nobody. I just want to kind of organize it. That's all I want to do.
Oh, I don't want to know about the seedy side of the business.
Right. I just want to sell the coke. Just like, okay, this was going out. Okay, that's good. Okay, go on. Put it out. Y'all doing your job? Y'all selling good? Okay, fine. All right.
Can we talk about our rivals? Whatever you do to handle it, you do it. Don't tell me about it. I won't know. I don't want to know nothing.
Don't want to know nothing. Don't want to know. I think if I was a drug dealer, I would run it like a call center. You call in. You say the drugs being sold on the street. When you order, you call in. You complaint, you call in. We take the complaints, take the orders, and we tell them, hey, this is what you need to deliver to.
Fucking cartel customer service.
Right. I think that'll work. Don't say my idea. I think that's a business waiting to happen. We need to get an LLC right now.
And then it's gonna be like all the other call centers. After a while, you're gonna outsource to India.
You gonna have Pooh out there.
My name is Rashid. You're calling about your cook. The hell?
I think that'll work. Shit, I'm selling out.
Goddamn special.
Hey, this is an idea. So what did you think about When They See Us?
Well, I didn't watch the entire series, but I watched the original documentary of the Central Park 5. I will say, I mean, When They See Us is a bit of a, it's a series, it's acted, so it's a bit of a dramatization. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's definitely going to make you angry because it's well acted.
Yes.
It is definitely, based off the first episode that I saw, it's definitely well acted. But as far as that case in general goes, I mean, it's a bit of a everyday thing in minority communities. Mm-hmm. I mean, what is completely heartbreaking about it is the fact that, after some time and, DNA evidence and an actual confession from the person who did the crime came up, that these people, they've already spent all this time in jail. They can't get that time back.
No. And the money they've gotten, I think they got like maybe over 40 million, something roughly like 40 million. And there's been reports saying after they paid the lawyers and things, they had
all the legal fees.
They didn't have a whole lot of money, to themselves. Like, so how do you give me this money for incarcerate me wrongfully, and then I don't have any money, really, any real big money to kind of like start a new life. And it's just real fucked up because I don't know what these guys are doing. I mean, I'm pretty sure they got some kind of money for this movie deal and everything, but like, how do you justify? Like, honestly, you can't justify it at all. But how do you pick your life up?
Yeah. But I will say, support the Innocence Project, which that's the group that worked to get these guys off. Mm-hmm. And what they do is they go in and the people who have been claiming innocence for their crimes, and then they go in and look at the evidence and look at the DNA evidence, because DNA evidence has exonerated so many individuals, so many people who were convicted, and just there was no evidence and to back up that conviction. And so the Innocence Project gets in there and says, okay, let's look at the evidence. Let's go to appeals and let's do DNA testing and see. And they've gotten a lot of people off. So
that's good.
Support the Innocence Project.
That's good. You think anybody's gone to the Innocence Project knowing they damn well did it, hoping they didn't get off?
I would have to assume that there's quite a bit of individuals.
Like, hey, slide this in there real quick. And it's like...
I would have to assume that there's been quite a few individuals who've gone to the Innocence Project knowing they did the shit.
Like, hey, it's worth a shot. Like,
right.
My bad. Like, I'm trying to get a little early.
You got those 5 guys on. I was just trying to see what I could do with it.
Right. Nigga, you killed 5 people. We not freeing Pookie.
And all the evidence point that you did it. And I mean, what I'm saying? They planted all that evidence. The semen and everything.
Yours, okay. Because what always kills me about us as a people is free Tyrone. What did Tyrone do? Oh, he killed like 2 officers and sold some crap. Right. Leave him in there.
Right?
He has a record of beating up his girlfriend, and he has several battery cases. Leave him in there. I mean, he ain't gotta be out.
I've had friends and family who've been incarcerated, and quite a few of them, I'm like, yeah, you probably need to be in there for a little while. I ain't running around talking about free you.
Wearing t-shirts.
Nah. You probably need to sit there for a little bit.
Free my nigga Ty. He might have did it, but I don't know. But free my nigga Ty.
You still my mans in them though. Like, nah. You probably need to be separated from society for a little bit.
You need to get institutionalized. You need to go back in there, become a Muslim, doing some big words, come back out, get you a job, start your own plumbing business or whatever.
Right. Start your construction company.
Right. Your construction company. Right.
So yeah, no. I'm not on the free Ty bandwagon.
Well, I can proud to say that none of my close friends have been to jail, and if they were, I'd be like, well, why? What you do? What was the point of that? Like, but I'm thankful that I don't have any close friends that had been in jail. That I think we all had our brush with the law, but I don't. None of my friends have like been repeat offenders.
Oh, so, I mean, I can't say the same, but it depends on what you do with your life afterwards.
That's true.
It's not so much what you did to get you in there. I mean, if you did something heinous enough that got you in there, okay, you probably need to be there for a little bit. But it's what you do with your life afterwards. That's more so on my mind.
Yes, I definitely don't think people who have committed a crime should be held against. That should be held against them to to continue to work. Because I know when I had my little situation, I just had a step in my record. So I wasn't necessarily convicted of a felony or misdemeanor. They said I just had a step. But it was very hard for me to get a job. And I'm like, all I want to do, I was applying for jobs like as a cashier at certain places. Like I applied at one job, it was a Smith bread company. And I it was like a loader to load bread onto the truck. And they were like, no, because your record, all I want to do is put the bread on the fucking truck. I don't want to do nothing else. Like,
you might steal the bread.
Well, yeah, I might take a break after a few months of being around there or a year or so. But that's, that comes, I think the bread's owed to me at the time. I mean, who hasn't worked fast food jobs, customer service jobs, fast food mainly, and you even taking the food? That's probably your first. If you work a fast food job, taking food is probably your first crime.
Hey, it depends on, somebody might have told you could take it.
You were at the Popeyes, you didn't steal no chicken?
I ain't gonna say I stole chicken, but I was told I could take it.
You took a 2-piece and a biscuit every now and then.
Maybe ate a chicken sandwich on it. But I ain't confessing to nothing.
All right, so I mean, yeah, I don't think it definitely should hold against them because you have a life that you can continue from. Now, of course, certain when you apply for jobs, you get to the point where like you can't find a job because you have a record. So then when you go back into what
right.
So
which is another issue that we have in America is that we treat once a criminal always a criminal.
Yeah.
Even after serving time in jail was supposed to be your punishment for a crime. So after you get out of jail, you've already served your time. You've already been punished for it. It's supposed to be clean slate to move on, but we don't do that.
So what, you think that was definitely was that systematic? I should say. I guess is that part of the system? You serve your time. When you get out, though, if an employer asks you, "You serve your time," you say yes or no. You say yes. What was the crime? And then they tell you, "No, we don't want you because you serve your time." It's like, what was the point of you asking me? Like, if I lied, then I'm screwed either way.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're a country where we're punitive. We're all about the punishment, and not so much about rehabilitation. So that kind of comes with that territory. I mean, it sucks, but we haven't been fighting it. Well, I'm not going to say we haven't been fighting to change it because there are people who are trying to fight to change that perception. But in the grand scheme of things, we're not fighting to change it.
So with the election coming up, there's a lot of push for prison reform. You think that will happen?
Yeah, honestly, if the prison industrial complex didn't have as much money into lobbying as they do, I think it would. We're going to need a new breed of politician, and because until money gets taken out of politics, again, completely different topic, then the prison system will stay churning the wheels that it's churning.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about prison reform and then, decriminalizing nonviolent crimes and things like that. Because you always see a lot of presidents, and during a president's term, he'll get somebody off. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of presidents do that, right before they leave office. They're pardoning a shit ton of people.
Yeah. I wonder who Trump will pardon.
I mean, he already pardoned somebody, Joe Arpaio, who was the sheriff and warden of a prison who, was real into chain gangs and treating prisoners like they were animals.
Why did he get out? But not my nigga Ty.
Because your nigga Ty didn't like Trump the way Joe Arpaio liked Trump.
Well, Ty, you need to vote for Trump.
All right, so that's our show for today. I hope everybody enjoyed it. I hope if you didn't know something, you learned something. And Ty, stay out of trouble. I'm not wearing the free Ty shirt, buddy. I'm sorry. So, as always, hit us up on our Gmail account. yourfavoritefatboys@gmail.com. Watch us on YouTube. Listen to us on SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play Music. I say this at the end of every video. You know what the deal is.
And remember, you subscribe, I survive.
That's what the doctor said. So get them subscription numbers up. I want to see this man next week. Please. Help. That's our show. Peace out.
Peace.